City Council meeting, please stand and join us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there anyone here who's not
here about the library to address council tonight?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take you.
Before I begin, I want to say what I'm about to share is not to shame anyone. It's not to admonish anyone. Simply restore what I've seen. It seems to have been lost compassion and dignity for the most vulnerable. January 6th was a... Is that better? January 6th was a frigidly cold day. Even without the wind chill for someone sleeping outdoors, that kind of cold is not uncomfortable. It's dangerous. That day, I went to check on two friends, Kim and Harvey, staying near the park. I found them huddled behind the Presbyterian church. They greeted me with a warm smile and a cigarette. As I lit it, I realized the smile was the only thing warm. For the first time since the temperature dropped, Kim wasn't surrounded by blankets. That's when I learned they had just lost everything they owned, including their blankets. In this weather, blankets aren't a luxury, they're necessary for survival, especially for a woman in her 60s. I am generally a peaceful person, but I was deeply disturbed to learn that these blankets had been removed by City of Omak employees. 2 days later, on January 8th, I observed private citizens, many from the same unhoused population often criticized in this community, raking and cleaning the park. They were doing work the city normally pays employees to do. I will not speculate on intent. I'll speak only on what I observed and the city's obligations. These obligations do not end with property. They extend to basic human dignity. In this city, access to bathrooms for unhoused people is almost non-existent. Public facilities are routinely closed, and very few businesses allow access. I want to be clear, this comes from lived experience. When I was living in a tent, there were times I didn't even have time to get out, much less try to find a public restroom when most were closed anyways. When a city denies people any realistic way to meet basic bodily needs, that is not neutrality, that is indifference. And when indifference becomes policy, it becomes cruelty. The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable seizure of property. The 14th Amendment guarantees due process. That applies whether someone is housed or unhoused. Notice and an opportunity to contest the action must occur before property is taken. Kim and Harvey received neither. From what I understand, their blankets were removed while they were sitting on them. I ask, who is closer to God or to their own heart when God is present in that situation? Two men taking blankets from a woman on a freezing night while she remains compassionate enough to share, even after losing nearly everything. The answer seems clear. I also want to be clear about something else. I have witnessed what compassion can do. In this community, there are very few citizens who have shown genuine care to people society has written off as hopeless. I've seen multiple people struggling with addiction find sobriety because two women in particular didn't judge. Instead, they treated them like human beings. They showed concern for their well-being. They showed consistency. They showed love. And because of that, people written off as outcast and hopeless by society chose sobriety. They chose a life, and they chose a change. That matters because it proves this is not a problem without solutions. When people are treated with dignity instead of hostility, lives change, especially when that dignity is consistent and patient. because people who have been harmed expect kindness to be an act and the hostility to soon return. The city is also facing serious legal exposure. Title 18, Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law exists to prevent exactly what I witnessed. Removing property and denying basic necessities to the most vulnerable without due process places the city at risk of federal investigation. I want to offer a concrete, immediate solution. The city should establish at least one temporary sanctioned space where a homeless person can legally place a tent, exist without the fear of harassment, citation, or removal, and have access to basic necessities, including 24-hour restroom access. A simple place to live, to survive safely. This is not a radical idea. It is humane. It's a temporary measure that prevents death, protects public health, respects the law, and reduces the city's liability. Finally, for those of you who are Christian or believe in moral accountability, I ask this. What will you say to your Creator when asked why you allowed harm to come to those most vulnerable? Why was basic dignity denied? How will you justify taking warmth from the elderly and denying people even a place to relieve themselves safely in the cold? These are not rhetorical questions, they're a call to action. It is within your power and your responsibility to ensure the safety and dignity of every person in Omak. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else had
Something to talk to council.
about? Was there someone else who wanted to approach council? Please come forward. Yeah, in the middle.
Hi, everyone. I've never been to a council meeting. I think I recognize a lot of faces and I know a lot of people. Don't know everyone's name. I will speak up and into the microphone clearly. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Andrew Bosco, and I live at 26 Pinecone Drive. I'm here to address a fundamental failure in the due process regarding the Highlands Long Plat. According to OMC 19.05.040, the city is legally required to mail notice to all property owners within 300 feet. I have reviewed the 3 affidavits, which I have right here, of mailing signed by the building official for this project. My name and my neighbor's, Carol Carter's name, are missing from every single one of those sworn lists. Under the precedent set in Nielsen versus Walla Walla County, a land use decision is not binding on a neighbor who is entitled to notice but did not receive it. In that case, the court ruled that because the notice was defective, the county lacked the jurisdiction to make the decision, and the appeal window never legally opened for me. I am here tonight because this council's previous findings were based on jurisdictional defect. You all were told in the staff reports finding 4 and 10, which I have right here also. In number 4 and 10, that all interested persons were notified and had the opportunity to comment. That is factually incorrect. I was not notified. I am here to provide the comments that I was legally entitled to give weeks ago. And my property easement of my driveway runs right through the road that they're trying to put in. So they're putting in a new road. In my property easement, the road goes right through it. It's going to create a very steep driveway for me, an intersection that I can't stop on a steep hill. Besides those points, let's move on. Let's see here. And so I would like to say also that my driveway easement number 753-807 is recorded interest that physically exists within that 300-foot boundary. So I am a property owner of record for that specific interest. By failing to include the owner of that recorded easement on the affidavits of mailing, the city failed to meet the notification requirement. Engineering red flags, a 15-foot cut. Had I been notified, I would have directed your attention to sheet PPO9, which I have provided right here. This profile shows a centerline cut of approximately 9 feet. However, because this road is being carved into a steep hillside, that 9-foot center depth mathematically results in a vertical excavation of 15 feet on the uphill side. Furthermore, sheet PPO9 fails to provide the left and right slope stakes or the limits of construction line. The developer has not defined the physical footprints of this 15 hole. If we look at PP109, once again, it is written here, new row lines from surveyor encompassing cuts and fills will be provided. They have not been provided yet, but the determination has already been made. With that said, the plans permitted for this project are legally insufficient for a public hearing. Sheet PPO9 explicitly states that survey lines for cuts and fills will be provided at a later date. This is an admission that the developer does not currently know the physical limits of their construction. Because the limits of construction were never defined on the public record, the SEPA review was based on speculation, not engineering. It was impossible for me or this council to make an informed decision on the impacts to my well, my septic, and my recorded easement when the developer themselves hadn't even mapped the extent of their excavation. You cannot approve a preliminary plan that lacks the most basic physical boundaries of the work. We do not know how far back the hillside will be excavated or how close this massive cut will come to my property line and my recorded driveway easement. Public safety and the missing geotech. This is a life safety issue. A 10% grade in an Omak winter, which is what they're proposing on this corner, coming down the corner, you're going to come down, then 10% grade to a stop sign. Good luck, emergency vehicles. This is being, okay, sorry. This is a life safety issue. A 10% grade in Omak, which is the maximum grade allowed in Omak. 8 to 10% are the maximum grades. We're at the high extent of this maximum grade. In an Omak winter creates a slide zone that is impassable for ambulances and fire trucks. This is being proposed in the Ross Canyon area, which has a known history of landslides. I think most of us remember, 10, 15 years ago, a huge landslide on Ross Canyon, made Spokane news, everything else. Big landslide. It's not stable ground. If you look where they're putting the road, it's only sand. We need holes to determine the soil. And there's a history of it. Adjacent hillside, landslides, massive. And we all remember Oso, even more recently. Despite this, the city is moving toward approval without a completed site-specific geotechnical report. Your own staff report right here on page 5 admits that a geotechnical engineering firm is required to investigate the stability of this road. To approve this project before the study is finished and before the public can review it is an abdication of the council's responsibility to ensure public safety. So once again, on page 5, it states that a geotechnical plan is required. It has not been done yet, but ground has already been broken. There's already a bulldozer up there. SEPA threats and errors to private utilities. The SEPA determination of non-significance, DNS, issued for this project is legally insufficient because it was based on incomplete and inaccurate data provided by the developer. In SEPA section B.3.A ground, the developer failed to identify my well, which sits directly adjacent to that 15-foot cut. In SEPA section B.3.B, they failed to account for my septic drain field, which sits on the side of my house closest to their excavation. In SEPA section B.1.D, earth, they claimed there was none known regarding unstable soils, ignoring the 50% slopes and landslide history of this specific canyon. A SEPA review that ignores existing private utilities and known geologic hazards is not a review, it is a guess. A formal demand for a stop work order. Most alarmingly, unauthorized site disturbance has already begun. A bulldozer has been on site clearing sagebrush and native vegetation. I have pictures right here. Here's the native vegetation destroyed. Here is a fire that is still burning and smoking as of this morning. A good week of burning now, when unattended fires are illegal here. I've been cited for one. And mine had frost on top of it, so. And here's the bulldozer sitting on top of the hill. Very heavy bulldozer, heavy machinery up there. Without our SEPA review, without a geotechnical review, we've already started. This is a tactic that developers use to rush a project. Once the damage is done, they say, well, what do we do now? We just move forward. Okay. A bulldozer has begun on-site clearing sagebrush and native vegetation. This is a direct violation of the applicant's own SEPA checklist, where they stated in section A.6 that work would only commence after approval, but it's already started. Because of these documented errors and the premature clearing of the land, I am formally requesting that this council, I've already asked Tyler for a stop work order, and he ignored that with some of these laws cited. So far, it's only been ignored. So that's why I'm calling on the council, because I'm being ignored. An immediate stop work order and a notice of non-disturbance for this site, allowing a developer to begin a 15-foot excavation under these conditions without proper notice, without verified safety data, and in contradiction of their own SEPA filing is an unacceptable liability for the City of Omak. We are asking for a total freeze on all physical activity until these legal and engineering defects are cured. Finally, I want to ask this council, who does the City of Omak serve? Is it the residents who live here, pay taxes, and raise their families on these streets? Or is it an out-of-state developer from Idaho who will leave us with the traffic and the landslides once their check clears? I've spent the last few days talking to my neighbors. I've yet to find one single person who wants this through road. In fact, I have found a 100% disapproval rate. Here's a list of people that I went around and talked to, and they signed this for me. I asked these questions. Were you aware they are adding 31 additional homes to Wildwood? Were you aware they were building a new through road connecting Wildwood to Shumway? Did you receive a notice in the mail concerning this project? Were you aware that the City of Omak, in your own papers, projects an additional 310 daily trips or cars due to this project after completion? It's a lot of traffic added to that Wildwood. Would you like and then I asked them, would you like a new public hearing to be scheduled to allow the voices of those most affected, those living right around and in this project, to be heard? A resounding yes, not one no for another hearing. Everyone said no, almost everyone said no, and everyone can look at this in the questions they answered in the signatures. Almost everyone said no, they did not receive a mailing. Almost everyone said no, they didn't realize that a through road was being connected to, making their quiet little street into an arterial throughway. And nobody knew about the additional 310 trips. Very few people did. So you're welcome to look at this. I have some people that came with me to support me, to give me moral support. Beyond the legal errors and the engineering risks, we have to talk about the fundamental character of our community. People move to Omak and specifically the Wildwood area for a reason. They seek out these quiet residential streets and family-oriented cul-de-sacs to raise their children and enjoy retirement in peace. By forcing a high-density through road into this established neighborhood, you are effectively destroying the very thing that makes this area valuable. You are replacing quiet cul-de-sacs with a high traffic corridor, bringing constant noise, light pollution, and safety hazards to our doorsteps. This isn't just a change in the map, it is a direct hit to our property values and our quality of life. No one chooses to live on a hillside to listen to the roar of through traffic and exhaust brakes. We are asking you to preserve the integrity of our neighborhood, not sacrifice it for developers' bottom line. If this council believes there is public support for this project, I'm here to say that there's not. And I'm willing to continue canvassing every door in Wildwood, Ironwood, and Sunrise. I will personally contact every absentee landowner on this to bring you a formal consensus. So I think the council wants to do what the people want, what's best for the city and best for families. So I'm willing to do that work as a public servant free of charge. I think you will find that the people who actually have to live with all of these difficulties that are being put upon us are united against it. We are asking you to represent us and stop this project until our voices are legally heard. The last thing I would say is I don't understand, I can't see a good reason for this road. There is no traffic buildup on Ross Canyon Road. It's just adding another place for delivery people and people wanting to quickly get up Ross Canyon to shoot through this narrow residential area so that they can speed to go to a faster place, to get to their delivery quicker, their place quicker, and that's not going to be good for anybody involved. Thank you.
Was there someone else who wanted to address council? Not about the library? Ronnie. Oh, uh,
We have Ronnie. We have someone here in the audience, so we'll take her, and then we'll be with you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Good evening. I'd like to tailgate a little bit on what Andrew just pointed out as far as what's happening up at the Wildwood. I'm a resident of Wildwood. My husband and I built a home up there and had it in 2006. So that we've been up there almost 20 years now. It's been a really pleasant neighborhood for the most part. We live right on Pinion, which is the first turnoff as you go on to the right. As you come in off of Ross Canyon. One of the big issues that I see happening with all this increased traffic that's going to occur is the fact that all of us on Pinion have to go and cross Wildwood in order to get to our mailboxes. Okay. All of the mailboxes are located the west side of Pinion, or excuse me, yes, of Wildwood Street. Pinion, of course, runs, I always give a direction straight, east and west. So anyway, the long story short is the fact that it is kind of a safety thing because we have 7 homes in that area that are currently occupied, and 5 of those homes have residents that are over 70 years of age. So here we are walking out to get our mail, and people are not observing their speed limits. They're supposed to be going 25 miles an hour. There are 2 signs, one as you come in from the north and one that you come in from the south, that are posted 25 miles an hour. And if you live up there, you'd better be careful when you cross the street because most of the people are not observing this. I, as a walker, usually go out and then I would go and get mail. And I feel like I really have to watch it because even if I'm standing at the curb on Wildwood going to mailboxes, people do not stop for you to go across. Now, maybe I shouldn't be letting them second guess, but what I'm saying is the fact that it is a safety concern, especially for us elders. Thank you.
Thank you. Ronnie?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
The core program, is it still a thing? Are you getting a new manager grant writer? And if you are, who is it that you're hiring? That's my first few questions, please.
Yeah, Ronnie. So we're still meeting with committee to know what direction we're going to go. We don't have any direct answers.
Thank you.
We'd like to keep it going, but we don't have anything approved by committee or council yet.
Thank you. And why is the office on Main Street not cleared? This is false advertising.
Actually, it will be cleared, Ronnie. We're working on that part. Okay, anyone else not about the library? Yes. Can you speak loud enough for everyone on the?
Former teacher, I think I can yell a lot. My name is Gail Wilson.
Please come to the microphone so that I can hear.
Yeah, we're getting him one. Just a second.
Thank you.
Unless I'm telling a joke. Okay, my name is Gail Wilson. I live at 601 Aspen Avenue in Wildwood Estates. I'd like to ask the council, have you deliberated on what type of people are coming into this complex that we have to deal with? That's my first question. Are they low income? That drives our property value down. We've had problems with burglary, theft, break-ins in that small community that we have called Wildwood. You bring people in, where's the industry? Where's the big businesses that Omak has to offer these people? I'd like to know, because I haven't seen anything. You have low-income houses out on Shumway. You have them right across the street from North School. Why do we need more? We have at least 2 or 3 houses in our neighborhood that is up for sale. Why do we need more? I look at the real estate people down here on Main Street. They've got all kinds of houses for sale. Why do we need more? Are we bringing in low-income people when we don't need them because of the housing? I don't think so. My property value, I've been up there probably the longest besides Mr. Sapp. I came there in 1995 when I started school at Omak. It has grown, but I'm just wondering, we don't get enough police people up there. We had a break-in in 2010 in our house. The cop was too busy to deal with us and the neighbor next door whose house was broken into because they were down at the Stampede Motel, all of them, sitting there having a Mexican standoff. He came up, looked at the deal. Oh, well, then he became Tim the Toolman Taylor and told me what to do about my house and my front door. If you're going to bring in this housing unit, you better best put more people up there to protect our Wildwood estate. Thank you.
Was there someone else who had, yes, you want to come up to the microphone?
Yeah, I was just wondering when the last council meeting was.
Oh, we had a special council meeting. What day was it? The 28th.
Okay, so was that just last week? Who's Justin? Me, I'm just somebody coming here to ask a question.
That's fine.
So anyways, um, so that was on the 28th. You said what time was the meeting at? 11 a.m. Why was it at 11 a.m. and not during this time?
It's a special meeting, so one topic. And so we broadcast it.
And how many people showed up?
None.
No people showed up for it?
No.
And what was the meeting held for?
We entered into a contract for our public works people,
And so was it about a pay increase?
a contract for the public works people.
Yeah, and how much was the pay increase for?
I'm sorry, I could barely remember. It was the 28th. I don't have that information for you.
Okay. So why would there be a pay increase needed for the public works people?
And those are contract decisions. So if you want that kind of information, you can ask for it.
Okay.
Negotiating.
Okay. And who are you negotiating with?
Public works people.
Okay. So I just assess, that's my question, is the need for an increase in pay, just because they think they need an increase, or who proposed for the increase and who scheduled for the meeting?
Public works people are represented. So we negotiated a contract and held a special meeting. What else
And
can we-
nobody showed up for this
No,
meeting?
No one
And
showed
set
up.
it up for 11 a.m. during the daytime when hardly anyone could probably make
Yeah.
that meeting?
We did. Okay. Do you have other questions about
Well,
that?
I'm just wondering, why is that you set it for 11 a.m. and not for around this time when more people could show up? Or why it wasn't just held for this time right now? And you couldn't wait to hold for the meeting for tonight? And what's the need for the increase for just pay? I mean, I don't see why the public works people would need an increase in pay. What do you mean afraid of? You telling me how to dress?
Okay, we're not going to have this kind of conversation, okay? If you
What
have
kind of
questions,
conversation? Yeah, I'm asking
you're
some
not going to
questions.
argue with people.
What do you mean argue with people? This guy's talking to me. I'm just asking some
I'm
questions.
trying to explain that. So
So if anyone's arguing, it's this guy back here trying to talk to me or whatever you're saying.
Okay, I
So
think
I'm just asking you some questions.
yep, and I've answered them best I can. So
So I guess just why that meeting wasn't held for tonight when more people can come out and ask about it, and so more people would see about it rather than 11 a.m. during the, when everyone's at work.
I don't know, because it was a special meeting.
So, well, yeah, but I mean, can everyone else that's at work, make it?
You weren't here.
I mean, it would be kind of hard for somebody, to go, hey, well, need to leave for a couple hours to go to a meeting during the middle of the day,
Okay, so your point is taken,
So,
and I've answered your question, and so we need to move on.
okay. So
Thank you.
anyways, though, so what happened was was it approved for the pay increase?
The contract was approved.
So they're going to get a pay increase?
The scope of the contract was approved.
Okay. So they're going to get a pay increase, just yes or no?
If that's part of the contract. So we've heard enough from you and we need to move on.
Well, I'm just asking. So is it
I
yes
know,
or
and
no
I've
question?
answered it. So we're moving on.
So is it yes or no? So,
Mayor, the contract was published, so you can go look at the contract that was approved and you will see everything in there. It was published on the website. The people that, so you can go look at that.
okay. So they're just going to get a pay increase, though. This is what I'm asking. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's all you had to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to address council that's not about the library tonight? Yes, thank you for the reminder. Okay, so we're moving on then. I don't have anything in correspondence of mayor's report. The consent agenda is approval of minutes from January 20th, 2026 and January 28th, 2026 council minutes. Approval of 2026 claims.
Move the approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Questions, anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Thank you. In new business, we have Resolution 14-2026, approve the professional services agreement with Kimley Horn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Wayne.
Okay, this contract with Kimley Horn to do an independent fee estimate for air engineering for an airport project. I recommend its approval.
Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. That does bring us to the presentation this evening, citizens of Omak Common Ground. You're here to talk to us about the library. Please try not to make repetitive statements. If you all have the same type of statement, I'm willing to understand that. I got 97 exact emails, and so I get that. So we'd like, if we're going to have differing ones, that would be great. We want to hear them. So come forward to the microphone so people can hear you.
Is there any room for additional comments from before we get started with the official agenda from members of the city? In regards to the library?
Oh, sure. You mean you want to?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Yeah, anybody can speak if you're here to talk about the library.
Yes.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Grimes, and you may recognize me as the ridiculously bearded man that works at the Omak Public Library. I
Mayor,
should start
can
off by giving some sort of disclaimer and state these statements do not represent the thoughts or opinions of NCW libraries. These are just a few things that I wanted to say as a private, off-the-clock citizen and resident of Okanagan County. This message is for you all and not the people behind me. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for supporting libraries. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here and advocate to keep the OMAC branch open. Thank you to everyone who has been posting and sharing information online to help spread awareness. Your untiring efforts have not gone unnoticed. I want to especially shout out all the young people who spoke on the January 5th City Council meeting. I'm glad you all did such a great job, and public speaking is very hard. I'm glad you see the importance of speaking your mind and fighting for something you believe in, even at such a young age. I recognize a good majority of the people in this room, but more importantly, there are several faces that I've not seen before. This goes to show just how important the library is to this community and how many people would be impacted by its closure regardless of their street address. Libraries are not private businesses like Gene Grocer or Kramer's Furniture. They are a public service just like the police and fire departments. Now, you may not use the library every single day, but you are happy it's there when you do, just like the police and fire. The library is more than an old building full of books. It is a vital community resource and often the heartbeat of a community. Libraries do not discriminate, and they do not and will not dehumanize. Libraries welcome people from all backgrounds, families, seniors, newcomers, longtime residents, immigrants, refugees, and visitors alike. The OMAC Library celebrates the rich cultural diversity that strengthens our region and is committed to offering care, connection, and belonging for everyone who walks through our doors. As it stands at this very moment, the OMAC branch will permanently close for operation on June 30th. Summertime is often our busiest time of year when school is out and kids fall behind on their reading. Every year, June through August, we do a massive summer reading program to encourage children to continue reading over summer break. This 3-month period also always has several exciting and educational crafts for all ages and an activity booklet that rewards kids for reading. This year's summer program theme would be Plant a Seed and Read. Plant a Seed and Read is rooted in the concept of farm to table. A farm grows food that nourishes our bodies, and libraries grow ideas that nourish our mind. Both food and stories connect us to family, culture, economy, and ecology. This program would provide a context for exploring history, science, health, and human connection. With the threat of imminent closure, the library would be unable to provide this always popular service to its community. Regardless of what happens in the upcoming months, I just want to assure the community that the library will continue to provide as many services as we can until we may have to lock our doors for good. We will continue to be a warming center in the wintertime and a cooling center in the summer. We will continue our famous Dungeons and Dragons program and our beloved baby and toddler story time and all other programs in between. The unfortunate reality is libraries all across the nation are fighting these same battles. Libraries in certain parts of the countries are forced into closure just for the book selection on their shelves. We have a unique opportunity to prove to our city officials just how important this resource is to our community. Today, I brought with me an article from the library archive that was written for the Chronicle in 1967 titled Modern Library Wins Approval. The notes on the side go into great detail about all the various committees working behind the scenes to help win the majority vote to construct the building that is the Omak branch today. There was a door-to-door campaign, a local radio station announcement, and even a full-page ad endorsement prepared for printing before the election. If we can continue to put forward half the effort the amazing citizens of Omak did 59 years ago, I think we may have a chance to save our library. Plus, if the library were to actually close down, that means I would have to find another job and shave my beard. And trust me, nobody needs to see that.
Gentleman with his hand up.
My name is Steve Kelly. I'm pretty much of a daily patron of the library. A couple things that I was told today, which may be rumors or fake news, I don't know, was that number one, part of the contractual stipulations are that the library ceased to be a warming and cooling center, which obviously is a way to keep the homeless out. That was one thing. The library system all over the United States has been known for decades and decades, maybe longer than that, as shelters, basically. If you go to the Seattle Library in the winter, you'll see sometimes 25 homeless people waiting for the library doors to open so they can get in and warm up. There's a lot of kind of chaos, mental chaos amongst the homeless. You know, there's some very angry, particularly angry women out there who can, blow their tops in a minute, and that happens. Since being in the library every day, I don't see too much of that. I've seen a little bit of that, but I mostly see people coming in, homeless people asking politely for the numbers to the bathroom so that they can use the bathroom or sit down and read. They also are vigilant about keeping the homeless out from underneath the walkway there. They're not allowed to smoke there or to sit there. Uh, so what? So that was one point. The idea that the library would be not able to be a warming shelter is like inconceivable. It's like the idea of having a town without a library. It's like a doctor taking an organ, an essential organ out of somebody's body. I would be likely not to want to live in a city that didn't have a library. That's the first thing I always do when I come to a new city is go to the library. The other solution that apparently was offered up in the contract, and I don't know if it's true or not, is more surveillance. Isn't that a sign of the times, though? There isn't very much kindness in the world right now. Everything has to do with force. More police, throw money at the problem, get rid of the homeless, shove them off somewhere. Yeah, granted, there are problems. I'm not idealizing the homeless. There's robberies and drugs and all that sort of thing, but there are part of humanity, and the people like us who live in warm houses and lead quote unquote respectable lives don't have to think about this very much. All of us, probably to some degree, we're all so respectable that we don't want to have anything to do that's kind of nasty and ugly to destroy our perfect little television lives. Um, Gosh, I wound myself up there, and I'm going to have to wind myself down. Uh, God, I don't even know where to go from here, really. I don't like the idea of more police presence, of more surveillance. It's just, it's a whole sense of we don't trust each other, you know. So let's throw some force at it, whatever it is. Let's make sure that everyone is behaving properly. There's something missing in humanity when we can't somehow open ourselves to trusting or loving the various parts of humanity that we don't particularly feel comfortable with. I know that people mentioned being afraid of going to the library, and I can understand that. I'm not, because I've lived a fairly seasoned life, so I've met lots of different kinds of people. You know, from Bowery people in New York to God knows what. You know, but you know that most people, most respectable people, are closed minded about letting anything unusual interfere with their perfect lifestyle. You know, as long as there's warmth and television and all that sort of thing, forget about the rest of the people. We can't just keep shoveling the homeless here and there and pushing them over there and then letting them in here. Somehow they have to be accepted in some way or another. I don't know how that will be, but I don't think the answer. I think the answer is an sort of a measure of, at least a measure of kindness and compassion for them, difficult as they may be. In some ways, they're not all that way. I've met some very cool together people who have who live in their cars for one reason or another and mind their own business. And yeah, so let's try to look at the homeless as human beings instead of riffraff or problems. There has to be some way of breaking into your compassion so that you can open up your love for more than just your immediate associates, for more than just your brother and your sister and your kids. We're all part of the same mass here. We're all human beings. Back in the 60s, there was a expression, we are all one. And boy, that is not, and that would tried to be true then. It didn't quite work. There are a lot of people who don't want to be one. But that's something, we're all very fragmented now. Everybody's got their own little thing. I know that for a while there were letters coming to Okanagan newspaper about objecting to the idea of the LBGTQ flag being in the libraries. Like someone suggested that, well, if they can do that, I can fly my cattle association flag in there. Well, that's really stupid, don't you think? You know, there's a little bit of a difference between cattle and people. And LBG people have had a rough time of it, especially those who cannot, especially young men, for instance, who are can't help but be effeminate, and they're born into families where the men want their children to be their boys to be men, and it's a very cruel way, you know, to try to push someone who is not in the mold of your liking into a certain mold, and that's caused a lot of suicide and so on and so forth. It's just somehow in these times of kind of cruelty, and I will say that's what we're living in. We're living in a time of cruelty. We have to, if we can love in any way whatsoever, we have to bring that up. And we may not be used to taking that love outside our families, but we have to start seeing everyone as our family. Doesn't mean we have to take a lot of guff from someone who's giving us a bad time, but gasp. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I know there was something else, but I can't remember what it was. So that's good. Thank you.
Good evening. We're here with Omak Common Ground. We just wanted to check. We think that Tim Dillman from NCW had something to say on Zoom, and we wanted to check before we started.
Yeah, hello. I'll be brief. Just good evening, council members and Omak City staff. Today I forwarded to the city administrator and each of the council members a copy of a letter to the editor that went to the Omak Chronicle. And That'll be published in this week's edition. In the interest of time, I don't want to read the full text of that letter as it will be printed, but I do want to stress the urgency that the city and NCW Libraries has to resolve the contract for library services. You may remember 5 months ago, I was there in person to announce a gift of $1.5 million that would be put toward the interior remodel of the Omak Library. That money is a combination of funds that were set aside by the NCW Libraries Board and nearly $1 million in grant funding that NCW Libraries was successfully awarded. We sought those funds because we saw so much potential in the Omak Library building, and we needed additional money to accomplish our dreams for the future of the Omak Library Service. We sought those funds with the approval and the backing of the City of Omak as far back as 2024. The current contract negotiations have put a pause on our ability to move forward with our design and begin construction. Our grantors are understandably nervous about funding the project when the future of the library is uncertain. In addition, the $723,000 that was awarded from the Washington Department of Commerce has a 2-year time limit from the time the money was dispersed in June 2025 until construction must be completed in June of 2027. So I want to urge the city to move fast and in good faith with NCW Libraries to resolve whatever points of contention that we may have with the current contract. The community has spoken loud and clear about the value that they place on the library. The city and NCW Libraries have partnered effectively for the last 60 years to provide a great service to the community. NCW Libraries is eager to continue providing that service and is ready to expand upon it at no additional cost to taxpayers. So we hope that the city sees the incredible opportunity that's in front of us and allows us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Max Frazier. This is Shelley Turner, and we're here on behalf of Omak Common Ground. We want to make a few opening remarks, and then we have some direct questions we'd like to have answered, please. And we have made it as succinct as possible, we promise. So thank you for allowing Omak Common Ground to offer a presentation and ask questions about the Omak Public Library remaining open and receiving the $1.5 million in renovation funding to modernize the space. And first, we want to acknowledge that the City of Omak says on its website that, quote, "We all work together to provide a great community for our citizens and visitors," end quote, meaning that we trust that the decisions you are making have the community's citizens and visitors in mind. That encourages us to come before you tonight to help express your community's perspective on a decision the city is making about terminating services with the North Central Washington NCW Libraries. The timing of this is of concern to us as citizens. We learned on December 31st of 2025 that the City of Omak had written a termination of library services contract letter with a stop services date of January 1st, 2026, or the next day. There may have been some confusion about whether or not the NCW Libraries could continue operating a library branch in a municipality that does not support the library through contracted funding. We now know that they cannot. Before we ask our fact-finding questions of the mayor and city council, we would like to make a specific statement on the record. The operating budget for the Omak Public Library is $915,662 per year. The city of Omak is responsible for only 17.3% of that cost, or $161,879. The 82.3% of the rest of the cost, or $753,783, comes out of the NCW library budget and covers day-to-day operations such as employee wages and benefits, management, part of the building maintenance contract, IT, insurance, programming and supplies like that wonderful summer program, and phones and internet. NCW's budget receives heavy funding from the inter-county resident real estate taxes, like somebody like me who is inter-county because I live in the Tunk Valley, many of whom are people who live outside of Omak city limits but use the city as our primary resource. In other words, both Omak city residents and the nearby county residents pay for the public library. NCW is funding, well, I will not go into the reimagining spaces because Tim talked about it, but you can see that we have this great opportunity to build a beautiful library. We want to call to your attention Washington State Law, RCW 27.12.030, which states that if 100 people sign a petition wanting a library in a town, that request must be brought to a vote. Once in the ballot, if 50% of the people who participate on that ballot, voting on that ballot, want a library, the city must provide a library. Look around you. The people of Omak want a library. There is no way that the city of Omak will be able to provide us with a library on its own if it terminates the contract with NCW for the $161,879 that they currently spend. And in fact, our Omak City Administrator, Todd McDaniel, even understood this, which is referenced in the public record meeting notes from the meeting he had with NCW Executive Director Barbara Walters, taken from their December 22nd, 2025 negotiating meeting. And we have those notes available. We already have a fabulous library that is about to be renovated and modernized. We have no need to circle through reinstating a library when the resource already exists and has the funding to become even better. So the following questions we will bring before the City Council that are on my next page are to help us understand how the city thinks the library agreements work with NCW libraries, with the ultimate goal, and last question we will ask after our facts-finding questions: why is the city trying to, 1, shut down the library, and or 2, change the nature of library services, and or 3, block the renovations for the existing library space? And so now we have our questions. We have received the copies of the contract termination letters, as well as the revised draft copies of the services contract and building use agreements from NCW Public Records request, with changes noted by the City of Omak. To make sure we are all on the same page in understanding how the agreement structure works, we have a few questions. Do you, City Council and Mayor, recognize and acknowledge that consistent with RCW 2712, without a services contract in place, NCW libraries cannot legally operate a library in the City of Omak? The underlying building use agreement and existing MOU are invalidated, and the facility must close on the stated date of termination, which right now is June 30th, 2026.
I'll preface this with, this body has not reviewed any kind of contract. So we have been instructed to deal with one person and one person only, Barbara Walters, in the negotiations. It sits in committee right now. And so this body is not going to have that type of information. Like I had stated before, when we prepare to come before and have action, it will be a docketed item. With respect, and so that's a preface. We're not ready to give you specifics about contract language or negotiation because it's not before the body. With respect to the RCW, yeah, that makes sense. 2712, yes, those provisions make sense.
Okay, so we understand that if an agreement can't be reached, the library will close on June 30th, 2026, unless you negotiate a later date or some other change.
I believe that'd be accurate.
Okay, thank you. In an email dated the 23rd of December, 2025, from Omak Administrator Todd McDaniel to NCW Director Barbara Walters, Todd states, quote, "It is our intent to terminate any service agreement that is not aligned with city goals and objectives," end quote. Can you please describe what specific city goals and objectives are in conflict with the current NCW Libraries partnership?
I can't, it's not my email. Go ahead.
It's making sure, I guess from the beginning of this meeting, you can see that, the community, there's different sides to everything. And so it is this.
Sorry, Todd, would you talk a little louder in the mic, please?
You got me now, Dave?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay. So it's really just to, to figure out what the balance it is. We're responsible to, it's coming out of the revenues that come from the city, and it's an agreement for services, and we need to treat it like a agreement of services. And so looking at the agreements that we have from, I think 1962 and then 1982, it was adjusted. You know, what we have in code, nothing makes sense. And, you know, it's stuff that should have been corrected years and years ago. And so now's the time to get it. And so we're negotiating, we're working with committee, most of the stuff that's there. You know, you can draw. I think as a committee, we've thought about everything. You know, the what ifs and the what nots. You know, and they're real thoughts. But I don't think anybody has made a commitment because we haven't taken it to the body yet because we're still negotiating. I've been working with Barbara, and we're going to get that sorted out. When we have something that's vetted out, it'll come here and it'll be heard.
So the city does not have specific goals and objectives you can give as an example that are not being met?
I do not.
Yet you've terminated a contract.
Yet you've terminated a contract based on those goals and objectives that are not being met by the library. Do you recognize and acknowledge that NCW is obligated to offer equitable services at all the 30 branches that it operates and cannot enter into a service contract that is materially different from the other municipalities that it contracts with?
That's actually part of the negotiations. We're not going to answer that right now.
We have, I believe Barbara Walters is on Zoom with us. Would she be allowed to say whether
She
that
can-
is true?
Well, she can speak if she
We need your
pleases.
permission to allow her to speak.
If she pleases, she may speak, certainly.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was whether the city could acknowledge that NCW is obligated to offer equitable services at all 30 branches that it operates, limiting what it can change in the contract with OMAC in order to be equitable across your branches.
Yeah, Todd and I have talked. I mean, the contracts, obviously, our contract had really old language and the new contract has updated language. But yes, the service that we provide the OMAC residents is the same service that we provide all residents across our district. We don't provide, we wouldn't provide a different service. It's an equitable service across all 5 counties.
Thank you.
So does the council understand that that's the negotiation you're in? Does the council understand that that's the negotiation that you're in?
I explained
That
to you,
has to
this,
be-
it's not before this body yet, it's in committee.
And could you explain what committee it is in? What's the name of the committee? I just don't understand how the process
It's in
works.
the financial committee. And so the council is broken out into several different committees so that we can actually negotiate things without it becoming, you know, it doesn't have to be on the record. We do these things confidentially. They are business agreements. So you can really understand what it is. And then that committee will bring a recommendation to council. And then council will have conversation about that and weigh those out and make a decision.
So this is a financial decision then?
It is.
Shelley said, so this is a financial decision for the people on Zoom. And the mayor said it is.
It's a contract decision. So yes, it's financial.
So we have established that these are not private negotiations, but instead are contract conversations between public government representatives, which is why we've been able to obtain all the materials through public record requests. Will you confirm whether the city is still requesting changes to the following services as was reported in the notes provided with NCW following a meeting between NCW and city representatives to include a city role in library employee hiring and firing, city control over days and hours of operation, city control over wireless access for patrons, city-driven security and signage requirements completed by library staff, city say over any changes that affect local delivery of services, city access to live security video feeds and all recorded footage.
We will not answer those.
Those are on public record as your requests. Those are not.
We
based
are
on
not, we do
anything
not have
financial.
the issue before this body. And when we do, we'll have those conversations.
Yeah, the person
Okay,
in the
so
back asked when we
let
were going to
me-
do it, and
yeah,
one of
let
the
me answer
reasons
that
that we're
question.
asking that question is the urgency that the NCW employee
Okay,
provided
so
us tonight.
this
Will
is
we
how
lose
this
the
works.
funding if the city does not work
Yeah.
quickly enough?
Right now, in negotiations, the library provided a contract, a draft. In draft, we responded. The library has it. We don't have it. We don't have it yet. And so that went on the 20th, but there have been conversations. We anticipate getting it very soon. We don't have it. We're not holding it up. We're waiting for that to come.
Understanding that many of the requests you made, NCW cannot meet because they need to give equitable services to all the libraries. So you would rather not have a library in Omak than acknowledge that you would have the same services as the 29 other libraries.
I think that's an inaccurate statement, but that's as far as I'll go with that.
Okay, excuse me, inaccurate in which way? Because again, we have representatives from NCW here that can tell us whether or not.
But we're not negotiating this right now. It is not before this body.
Negotiation, this is a clarification.
Can't clarify it. You're getting bits and pieces from one side of this issue.
Sides here,
No.
you receive clarification if you will let them speak.
No, we're not taking it up tonight because we're not gonna have it before the body tonight. We're not there yet. Close, so close, but not yet.
We have had a library in this town for nearly 60 years. We have had a contract in place for about 40 years that has functioned. It does have old language. You are renegotiating it. But you want to terminate, and in fact, you were terminating the contract without public notice. So if so, did you choose termination because you have evidence of mismanagement by NCW?
I think the reason we got into it was a communication gap. This
Could
whole
you-
thing will be very interesting when it all comes out. But I don't, it's,
Can you
again,
clarify the
it's
communication
not a
gap?
nefarious thing. I don't think we're sitting here waiting on pins and needles to close the library. And my affection for the library and library services can't get in the way of making certain that the services provided are something that are good for the community. You're all here tonight because you really, really like library services. Who here tonight is speaking for the people who don't? You have to have that consideration. That's why we're here.
So you're representing the people that do not want the
No, we're
library
representing
services.
the people who
What
want
about
to.
the open public comment for the people to say they do not want library services? Why are they not here?
I don't know. I don't know. I generally don't invite people who are going to be contrary to what I like. I don't know. But that given, I'm not here sitting here telling you I'm waiting to close the library. It's never been like that. And some of the stuff that's out there circling around is just flat out inaccurate. It's misinterpreted or it's just not accurate. It's fine. They have released pieces of it. It's just not how negotiations generally go.
It's not private negotiations. It's two government entities that are negotiating a contract,
Yep.
making all of the conversation public record. And we
Right
have
now,
the documents.
okay, we're not in a position to tell you anything about this tonight. It is not before this body.
Yeah. Okay, we do have more questions, and thank you so much for engaging with these. I know we seem a little bit controversial, but we are grateful to be having this conversation. The next question that we have that makes sense to go with next. We're interested in knowing in what capacity these changes have been talked about. You said that in your January 23rd correspondence with Barbara Walters, you mentioned that the remodel is, quote, a product of the committee. What committee are you referring to? And what legislative body is deciding the fate of the MOU as described in that January 23rd email?
I don't believe it was my email. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, it was Todd McDaniel's email. So you said there is.
I have to see it because I don't know exactly what it is. But
We've got it. Hold on.
no, we're not here to talk about it.
You would rather not see the email that we're referring to?
I guess I don't need, we're not here because it wasn't.
We are here to discuss it. This is exactly why we were put on the agenda tonight, is to discuss this.
I guess I believe this is a business meeting and the comment should be addressed to the council and the mayor so they can understand it. You know, they've been very gracious, but you know, it isn't a question answer. If you want to have a meeting and you want to invite us to come and we do this, that's how that should be handled. But this is really information for them so they can make good decisions. You're asking questions that haven't been shared with the group.
Because we are in committee. That is how this works. So you break it down so that you can actually get some information, do the background work in a non-quorum setting, and it will come before the body. If we have that thing tomorrow, I suspect it will go out within several days to that committee again, and it will come back and be on an agenda for action. Until then, all this information is just not part of it. I'm about ready to end this meeting if we
Thank
can't
you. We
behave.
have a few more questions that go in a new direction, so could we please
Okay.
address those?
Yeah, you can address those. You have a gentleman at the back who has his hand up. I don't know if he has it up for me or for you or
We're not done with ours, but could he speak after us, please?
sure.
Thank you. The Omak Library Board is a city-run committee with members appointed by the mayor that serves in an advisory capacity and as a liaison between the city and NCW. Was contract termination discussed with the Omak Library Board prior to the original termination letter being sent on September 30th, 2025?
No.
If not, why weren't they part of the process since they serve in an advisory capacity?
Well, that's all part of that communication thing, and just how liaison it is all part of the issue. So those are things we'll work out.
So
Again,
are
it's
you
not
suggesting that
nefarious.
we should have had a conversation with the library board
No,
before
I don't
you
think
sent a
so.
termination notice?
No. It was simple to meet a deadline, just to bring this thing again. If you knew how simple this whole entire thing was.
It seems simple to keep the library open, and it seems simple to have our $1.5 million in renovations.
Yep.
And it seems strange that you're setting termination dates when we had a contract functioning in place that is functioning for 29 other branches of the NCW libraries.
Again, we want control over this space. Please be respectful and just be respectful, please.
Has the committee consulted the board on the proposed new contract terms that the city has included in these draft contract copies?
No.
Why has there been a vacant seat on the library board for over a year? Has the city made any effort to seek a community member for appointment? And if so, when and in what capacity?
I have not sought anyone. We fill them as they become vacant. We have a new council person who's on it. I have overlooked that. There's a position open.
Thank you.
Mhm.
If the city of Omak goes forward with termination, we've already shown that more than 100 people would sign a petition in favor of having a public library in Omak, forcing a public vote, which we believe would pass. What do you envision as a better alternative to the NCW partnership that exists now for facilitating an Omak public library without them?
Not sure I understand that question.
If enough citizens vote to have a library, you have to have one.
Sure, we're not opposed
You
to that.
are making contract negotiations with NCW
Mhm.
that are not viable because they need to provide equitable services across all 30 branches. So they cannot agree to the suggestions or proposals that you've put in the copies of the contract that we've seen through public records. So you are planning to terminate the contract with the library.
We're planning to continue negotiations. We're just waiting for that last thing to come. I don't
And
know
if-
what it says.
And if the library does not make the red line changes we saw in your contract, will you terminate the contract, library services contract with NCW?
I would hope we'd have further discussions.
And if you keep extending the discussions, you know that in the library you're planning to keep, you're losing the funding to make it a more modern space. And we, your public, will know that as you have kept a much needed and repair building in a shabby state, you will have kept it open, but you'll have kept it open lesser and not considered our future.
It's a shabby space.
It's not a shabby space except for the bugs that drop off the ceiling.
but it is a space that is ready to be opened up, walls moved, bathrooms changed, meeting spaces put in a more public area, study carrels for the students. I mean, if you've been to these imagining spaces meetings and looking what they're doing, the space is of course not shabby now. It is my favorite place in this town. However, it can be so much better and it will reflect the kind of town we want to be. Just like the man who was here before, my very first stop when I moved to Omak was to, well, outside of Omak, was to come to this library. And we know that people will not want to be in a town that doesn't have a library, but boy, can we make them really want to be here if it's a beautiful, renovated, and supported library. The contract changes that you are proposing seem to infringe on civil rights. They seem to want less for OMAC than the 29 other branches are getting, and they don't seem to support that future that is so possible for this town. And the gentleman who's coming up had his hand up.
Yeah, my question was spurred by something Mr. McDaniel said, which was that the city council meetings are meant so the council can get information from the public. How then is the public supposed to get information from the city, if not these meetings?
Oh, these meetings are a really good start. Website's a good start. Coming, talking to people who work for the city. There are all kinds of ways to get information.
But when people are asking questions that you can't find answers to these questions on the website. You have to ask the people who know the answers. And when you're refusing to give answers, people have no other way of getting them.
You're talking specific about the issue going on here now?
Yes.
This is unique. This is not something that we normally do. So yeah, this one's a little bit unique, but still, if you wanted to come in and ask questions, you can do that. I just would caution people from whatever you read on social media and taking it for word. I wouldn't do that. Come and clarify those kind of things. If something seems strange, it's strange. So yeah. Yes, sir.
Name's Jim Brucker. And thank you for your service, by the way. I know that being on the council is not an easy job. You've got lots of decisions to make, and they're not all popular ones. I'll try to keep this short. And my wife says, yeah, good luck with that. She's heard me before. So most of the things I've got on my list here are already falling on the floor. I guess my biggest question is, if in fact OMAC does not approve this contract, what's going to happen? Are we going to have a library? Is that library going to be on a par with the library we currently have? Or is it going to be, something lesser? Do you have a plan for what's going to happen next if you don't sign this contract? No plan?
I don't have a plan specific yet.
Okay.
Hope springs eternal.
So we'll be without a library for who knows how long, if not.
Yeah, it's not my understanding, but I don't know yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, another possibility is the people who come to town to look for a place to move their business or a place to live, and they look around for the library, and it's not there. What do you suppose they're going to think? Are they going to think, I'm out of here, this is not the place for me, I'll go to Okanagan, or I'll even go to George Washington. They have a library. Winthrop's got a brand new library. Chelan's got a fairly new library. There's lots of places they can go where they do have a library. So I'm concerned about the growth of our community and the way people would view our community if we do not have a library in our town. Now, I do appreciate Todd's work on negotiations, but both sides have a way to go in negotiations. I know there's some trust that's probably been lost in this process. And what we need to do is say, okay, we need to get together and solve this situation. There's got to be a lot of ways. The list of interesting things that the city wants to do, some of them are not legal. Some of them are not possible. Some of them are already happening. You know, signage in the park near the library. Say, you know, no loitering. I don't know if that would work in Omek. It works in Moses Lake, I guess. I've not been to the library in Moses Lake lately. The other thing, of course, is losing the $1.5 million. Um, my money management skills have deteriorated over the years a little bit. Seems to me that $1.5 million is a lot of money, and we ought to take advantage of that. The library is not a dump, but it could use sprucing up. Why are we deciding not to do that? If the people that are causing trouble based on, I don't know how many people you've had complain to you, if it's 3 or if it's 100, but one of the problems is the bathroom. Is the bathroom in the city park not open? Or is it not up to standard? You know, why are those people want to go into the library when they can go into a public facility that the city owns and takes care of? So that's something that I think ought to be taken care of. Also, if we decide to have our own library, I was on the North Central Library Regional Library Board for 14 years. It's now changed its name to NCW Libraries, but it's the same outfit. And when I got on that, I could not believe the depth and variety of things that the library does. You can go down there and read consumer reports on their website. Kids are there all the time. They're having people reading stories to them. They're doing face paintings. The activities go on and on and on, and the ability to access computers when you don't have a computer at home, that seems like a nice thing to have as a library. The amount of money, the 700,000 plus that the regional library puts into the Omak library versus less than 150,000 that Omak itself puts in. And we're getting money from all over that taxing area. You know, at 30 libraries, they all operate under the same basic contract. Why does OMAC need to be different? And are those differences insurmountable? Can we find ways to say, well, is there some middle ground somewhere we can negotiate? I'm sure that's what Todd's working on very hard. I can see his brain is just turning like crazy. But it's something that we need to maybe say, and it's called a negotiation, right? So it's not my way or the highway, supposedly. So are one side or the other digging in their heels? Well, I know that the library is saying, this is what we've got. This is what our other 29 libraries have. These are the things that we can do legally. And, you know, we can't be having someone else dictate exactly what goes on inside the library. It's like saying that we contract with the fire department, and then we tell the fire department what to do, how to run their fire department. You know, how many trucks should they have? How many should wear helmets and how many guys shouldn't wear helmets? I hope there's none that don't wear helmets. Anyway, city residents would lose their ability to get online or mail delivery. That most people, myself included, use a lot of that because it's an easy way to get a book. And yes, I read books. I understand this is weird now. But a lot of people still read books. And mail order is a service that is not going to be available if, in fact, OMAC decides to replace the library. aside from the fact that it's going to cost us a lot of money as because of the amount of money that North Central Regional Library, my old name, has for us, 700,000 plus versus 150,000. Uh, sounds like a better deal to get the 750,000 than the 150,000. Anyway, let me check to see if I have any. I was told that in order to continue the renovation money, the $1.5 million, that decision has to be made by March 1st. Now, if that doesn't happen, then that money's going to probably go away. But we can still keep negotiating on the contract for a while longer. But the employees have to have a 60-day warning that they're going to get fired because there won't be a library anymore. And maybe Omak will hire these people that work in the library. I don't know. But there's some deadlines in here that we have to be concerned about. And so I guess I'm saying I'm amazed at what the library has to offer. I think Omak has a tremendous system. It's easy to get in and out of. Yes, there's occasionally somebody sitting on the sidewalk. They've never bothered anybody I've ever known. My wife's there all the time. They never say a word to her. So I don't know what the problem is. They don't stick out their foot and try to trip you. They just let you walk on by. But, so anyway, I'm not sure I'm not making a mountain out of a molehill. That's just one perception. So anyway, aside from the fact that the library district owns all the books and all the computers and all that stuff, I don't know what's going to happen as far as refurnishing the library. Where the book's going to come from, where the computer's going to come from. Oh, you're going to have to buy new ones. Good luck. I'm sure the taxpayers will be happy with that. I've known Barbara Walters for a long time, as she was our executive director about halfway through my term there, and I trust her. She can be a little hard-headed at times, and I'm going to go there. What woman can't be? Back. Just a joke. That's just a joke. So anyway, I'm here to say we need to sign that contract, get the ball rolling on the renovation, let the employees relax. They're not going to lose their jobs. And most of all, we still have a library open to the Omak and surrounding areas. So we need to keep that library open and sign the contract. Thank you.
Did you?
Thank you. I thought you were pointing at the person with their hand up. Sorry. 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 I realized why my mouth wasn't in front of the mic. Okay. So, the library isn't an old building of books. It always gets new books. They have horror stories for adults, toys for kids that might not have any, and games, learning games, games for game's sake. I think Magic is a really fun game, and it's a fun way to make friends. And for kids who are homeschooled, who aren't able to access a public library, they won't be able to read any books. So, I have one thing to say to the people. The library should stay. We shouldn't be even thinking about it closing. It should stay. Kids, homeschooled or not, need libraries. Digital libraries, they mostly have AI made books, and those are terrible. but human made books are great. My mom and I are reading this book series right now, and it's so good. Everyone should be enjoying books human made, not AI made, but made by hand. People love them. And most of all, with all these books and books like cooking books, some people learn ways to learn to cook with that they didn't even know. And so, like, and they have science books for kids. With those, they can learn things like how light moves, what type of waves there are. And then there's fantasy books to expand a child's imagination just for books' sake. So, and then there's like, if you ever have a favorite book, you can just book that is in a series. You could just go to the library and get it. No paying money. You can save that money for things you need. Food and water. Heat, a home. Libraries should stay. Science, cookbooks, nonfiction, fiction. Books are important. Books of culture, books of science, books of cooking, anything you want to learn or just want to read about, a library is where to go. AI books basically just make up answers. Written down writers, look for them. Honestly, I think a iBook shouldn't even be allowed to be made. Thank you. And then like there's so many things a library is needed for. With our library, like they literally had a little quiz I did on how to sort the things on there. They literally did, and I got to do it. They have a chess game, and chess is full of doing logic. Magic is trying to make the right decision. D&D is kind of like magic, but more actions. Like things are the library is important. We shouldn't be talking about this. The library should stay.
And with that, okay. Oh.
So you say that anyone can come and ask questions to people who know the answers, but how are we supposed to know when to ask? If there's something going on and you're not informing the public about it, how do we even know to come and get those answers?
I just have a quick comment that I was here I think it was last month, when there was standing room only in the lobby. And we were told then that you were very confident that the library was not going to be closing. And then today we find out that we have sent a letter and all that's happened is the date has moved. So speaking for myself, my confidence in what you guys are doing is really starting to drop at a rapid pace. So thank you.
name is Danielle Sharp, and I live in close vicinity to the park. So if anybody can complain about the issues with the park, I think living nearly right next door, it would be me. What I'm reading online is that there's the council's wanting, or the committee negotiations are wanting the library to police the park. And I guess if I'm asking if that's true.
Considering Mr. Gua was here at a meeting and chastised us for having the new security firm to protect our assets, that's a nonsensical situation. The city is paying to have the park.
Okay. Because I don't feel like it's the library's job to police the park. I think that they're two completely separate issues.
Yep.
There's issues at the park that is 100% true as somebody that has to listen to screaming all hours of the day and night. However, I think that the library is extremely important. My daughter actually worked at the library this last summer, and prior to doing a paid internship there, she was terrified to graduate high school because of not knowing what it was going to be like to enter the workforce. And I was nervous for her to walk by the park every day, but she never had one issue with anybody bothering her in the park when she would walk by. And now she's extremely excited to graduate. She's considering a career in library services, and she's excited for her future. So I just think that it's extremely important. And then I'm a nurse that works in the community with patients. A lot of them are low income, and they can't afford to pay for TV or entertainment. And so their entertainment is going to the library. It keeps their minds active. And so I just wanted to share my feelings.
Thank you.
Thank you. I first heard of this issue about a month ago, and when I did, I was incredulous. And I asked around, looked into it, found out about the North Central Washington plan to revitalize the building, and thought, oh, that's what it is. They're just closing down briefly. And then, to my astonishment, I learned that no, the City of Omak is considering not renewing the contract, literally closing the public library in the biggest town in Okanagan County. And I again, incredulous. Don't set this precedent. What town closes a public library? I recognize that there are financial issues, hard financial issues that have to be made across public services. Sometimes, though, you have to go beyond just the finances and look at how vital it is to the spirit of the community. And this is one of those instances. Don't pass up this opportunity to revitalize this town in this segment of public service and to give this community something nice, something really nice that this community deserves. I know there are other needs. I imagine Chief of Police Christensen, a former student of mine at the college, probably has officers who need better offices. Something, just to take an example. Buy the Flock and Flack building, a great old historical building, remodel it, and they can just walk across the street. But preserve the library, okay? And have it revitalized. And don't set this horrible precedent. And just one last thing. You gave the young person such great advice. Don't believe everything you read on social media. That is true. Literacy rates are plummeting among school children in America. And the loss of a library is not going to help that, because children learn to read early on and get into books and reading very early in life. And as this gentleman said, their programs for children are just amazing. And so we don't need to increase our literacy rates in this community. We need this library. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see no other hand, or Diane?
All right, thank you, guys. Mayor, you had mentioned at our last meeting on the 5th that it was your hope that the contracts would be signed by March 31st. Is that still likely?
Yes.
Good.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, very likely we'll have it within the next couple of days, and then I certainly hope so.
Yeah. So we had our meeting, the meeting where we had the big gathering on what, January 5th. You had the contracts for a couple weeks. You've sent them over to NCW Barbara Walsh. Barbara has had them now for approximately 2 weeks. She said that she received them on the 20th of January. That would be 2 weeks, okay? I'm trying to keep this balanced. Negotiations, one part and another part. So there's been this equal amount of time for the library to negotiate and for the city to negotiate. It is my hope that given what is at stake, and obviously everyone wants the library, that negotiations will occur. We will be reasonable. I don't think anyone believes that the library should take on the unhoused issue. But there are certain things that need to take, according to the city and according to the library, needs to happen. So I think we need to have cool heads. We need to have confidence in our elected officials and in the library organization. Come March 31st, if things haven't happened, then we have a lot to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see no other hands. Well, certainly.
It's probably one of those wild social media far out things, but I read it today actually and on somebody's phone, and that was there is a possibility that the city wants the library building to demolish it and put in a new police station. And also to get rid of the park. So, is there any truth to this at all?
There is speculation about a new public safety building. Where that would go, I don't know.
So you guys don't have your eyes on the library building per se, or? No. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to check that out. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir.
I live in Omak, and I just have 2 points to make. It seems to me that the 1.5 million that is coming for the remodel will bring a lot of business. I mean, it seems to me that construction workers will come and they'll have to have lunch. That brings a lot of money to Omak. If this is a business decision, are you considering that? Or are the 3 people in the committee, are they considering that? And then, okay, I'll let you answer that. Somebody can answer that. Maybe one of the people on the committee.
I think the things we're discussing in committee are still in committee. Is it a consideration? Sure, all those things are a consideration.
the MOU, the contract, the services, all those things are part of the consideration.
Okay. And then I guess my other one is if the Washington Department of Commerce has raised this money of $736,000 of the grant for the library remodel, doesn't that say something about how they value libraries? I mean, we're talking about the Department of Commerce, right? I mean, isn't that important to the city of Omak?
It's very important. All those are part of the considerations.
Okay. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think, pardon, what? Oh. Hi, Benjamin?
Yes. To me, this seems like this would be a sledgehammer to education.
Benjamin, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Has he clicked on it or you clicked on it? Benjamin,
Hello?
can you unmute so
I'm unmuted.
we can hear your question?
Hello?
We can hear her on Zoom.
Oh, I think we've got like a programming error or something. Benjamin, I'm sorry, we're not able to hear you for some reason. Can you check your audio on your computer to make sure you're not muted? It's not on him anymore.
Your Mayor, I hear him on my end.
Oh. I can hear Dave. Right.
I'm able to hear them on the Zoom meeting, but you not be able to hear them on your end.
Yeah, no, we can't hear him. Okay. No, we don't. No chat. Dave, can you speak with him and see if he can tell you what his question is?
Ben, can you say what your question is?
Yeah, I kind
there
of
he
just
goes.
wanted to. I just wanted to make a statement. I feel like the job of a government is to serve its people, and by potentially letting the library shut down, that's going against what the people need.
Mayor, were you able to hear that?
Yeah, we heard it. Thank you, Benjamin. Okay, I don't see anybody else's hand, and we are at the end of our agenda. Council, what's your pleasure? We've got a motion to adjourn. Second. Got a second and no objection. We're adjourned. Thank you for attending.